Here. I am Super Dave Quinn. This is the Texas Economic Development Connection Coffee Talk, and it is my most favorite part of the month. Every month we gather and have a conversation and try to help one another. We talk about wins and wins and losses and shares and commiserate on our misery sometimes, but also celebrate each other. And we try to bring in an expert and try to provide some value that you can take away and implement into your daily lives. And I had the opportunity to meet Hilary at IAMC and instantly knew I wanted to somehow be in her sphere. And so I selfishly coerced her into coming and talking at the last coffee talk. But I was on scheduled wise, I was in an airport and, forgot to hit the record button, had this most awesome experience, great questions. It was fantastic. And then, I ran to the airport, ran through the airport to get on the plane and realized we didn't record. And so we said, okay, well, let's do it again.
Yeah,
And this time maybe we'll record it
mulligan.
and everybody gets to benefit. Those that were on the call the first time were, it was really, Hillary, it was fantastic. So I'll let you kind of give more of a introduction of yourself and your company so you say it right. I just know you're a really cool person and you do some stuff that I think we need to know how to do. And so, Hillary, it's articulate. That's one thing. Did I
Yeah,
say that
there you
right?
go. Yeah,
Yeah,
articulate,
that's
really
much better than
clear.
the first one. Like the first time, I don't think I ever got it out. So,
That's good.
all right. So, Hillary Blair with Articulate, will you please introduce yourself? Kind of tell people what it is you do, and then let's dive into maybe a conversation and see where we go.
Perfect. I am a drama teacher, literally, not figuratively. So I'm a drama teacher who, for years and years and years, put the drama in, and a businesswoman met me and suggested that the tools and techniques that I was sharing would be helpful in the business world. So then I started taking the drama out. So drama teacher put it in, now I take it out. And the thing that bridges it's the same is it's all about communication. So how do we as individuals show up and connect with other people using all of those theater things? So our voice, our energy, our nonverbals, the message, like where we're coming from, our head, our heart, our instinct, all of those elements. So that art and articulate is because we are drama teachers, we are drama folks. And the part of it that's interesting, hard for me, is that I think communication is hard. I think communication is hard. So I have been drawn to figuring out how can we connect better, not necessarily more easily, but better. How can we actually really connect? So I've been teaching and training for decades, long, long time. And I have been drawn due to a client who mentioned to me that, hey, after the end of this workshop, we were working through some improv exercises. He turned and he's like, I thought you were going to have us get along, with that kind of attitude, like get along. And instead, you got us comfortable with friction. And he named what I have been doing for years, but hadn't thought of it that way. And I was like, that is brilliant because friction creates traction, which keeps us on the road and keeps us moving forward towards innovation. And so often we work hard at smoothing things over. And when we smooth things over, we often slide off course. And so the idea that friction is inevitable, conflict isn't, is very, very important to the work that we do. There are so many fantastic programs for conflict resolution, for courageous conversations, like really great programs. Many of my colleagues have created them. They're doing great work. What I have found is that there's this land of opportunity long before things become conflict. That's conversation. Like, how do we just have conversations? And how do we, the two walls that I'll say that we end up living between are between avoid and attack. So often we'll avoid things because we don't want to cause conflict, or we think we're avoiding things, but we're actually kind of passive aggressively attacking. So between avoid and attack, or the instincts of the human being, which is fight or flight, right? Those are the things, fight or flight. I say that between that is the land of possibility, which is the messy middle. And it's like a garden. And if we meet each other there, we can really plant things and grow. And that fruitful friction, so innovation and moving teams forward and true success comes from staying in conversation, being present with that, being self-aware enough to know, kind of like a video game, did I just get boop? Did I just pop behind the avoid wall? Did I boop? Did I pop behind the attack wall? Like, oh, great. And then I'm going to be intentional and come back into conversation. So we're exploring the concept, that construct, and then how do we empower people to have the tools to stay in conversation even when it's uncomfortable, even when we're rocking our awkward.
So you talk about that. I love rocking the awkward, right?
Right.
Because as an Enneagram developer, again, we're sort of salesy and we don't
Right.
like conflict necessarily. We
Right.
do. I personally like to avoid things, and if I don't like them, and however, what does that look like? How do I begin to get comfortable with that uncomfortableness, right? Like that the friction that you're talking about. What are some simple things that maybe I can put my toe into to kind of get a feel for what's that really like on a day-to-day basis? What
And
are
I
some
like it.
examples?
And I like the idea of the toe, like, right? Like, even if you're sitting on the wall, just popping your toe down in. I like that idea. Most of them, the overarching sort of focus I'll have is self-awareness, because what happens is if we don't have enough tools for communication, we become self-conscious. And when we become self-conscious, we're like, oh, this is super, I'm out of here. This is super uncomfortable. And we duck out, right? So we want to be self-aware. And if we start getting self-conscious, it usually means we don't have enough tools. So the tools are really simple in that annoying way. Meaning that, like, I've heard these before. It's not like, some earth-shattering thing. Some of them are unusual. So one of them will be simply to remember breathing. That's the obvious one. And yet, the one that most usually escapes us. All right. So that concept of, wait a minute, I've stopped breathing, because our body will instinctively stop breathing if we feel threatened or if we're worried about anything. The problem with that physiologically is the minute your body stops breathing, right, then there's no oxygen coming from your lungs, getting in your bloodstream, going to your brain. So when you say you've lost your thoughts, I like to remind all of us, including me, that that is far more physiological than metaphorical. So it's not some like, oh, I lost my thoughts. You actually lost your thoughts because you're not breathing. So the easiest, and I like, I don't know, technique, trick, hack, whatever you want to call things, whatever works for you, is to remember that if you say anything at all, you're exhaling, because air comes from our lungs, goes through our vocal folds in our larynx, and then we shape it and we make sound and we create a word. So if you simply say, huh, or right, or wait a minute, or let me think about that, or oh, that's a question I hadn't considered. Any of that happens on the exhale, gets you breathing again. So what happens is most of us just kind of go, we freeze. We have that classic freeze, and then we try and cover it. Even a cough, right? So even a cough gets us breathing again. So because we're designed as a vacuum, so we exhale and then the air comes in automatically. The information and the guidance that we've given people to inhale, like take a deep breath. Take a deep breath is one of the most confusing things, because your body's like, I don't want air. I want you to get air out and like let me automatically breathe in. So if you take a deep breath, we tend to be super shallow. So any of us who are athletes, musicians, parents, human beings walking through the world, we know that we were taught to exhale, and that allows the air back in. So all I'm connecting is how our body naturally, we're a vacuum, get rid of the old air, get rid of the CO2, let the oxygen in, get it in the bloodstream, get it to your brain, share your brilliant ideas. When you hold your breath, that's the first thing that happens in the messy middle, fight or flight. So that's a long way around, because we've gotten so much misinformation about our breathing, which I know all of you are fine breathing, because here you are, you're alive, you're visible, you're connected.
We can do it.
Yeah. So that's
So that's
why,
a
yeah. Yeah. So that's one thing. And then they get more complicated, right? So then they get, are you self-aware enough to recognize that you are physically closed off? So when I teach body language, I don't teach, I have excellent colleagues who teach body language for us to read other people. I really give you a simple task: read yourself. But that's not what we do. We tend to be so much more focused on other people. We're not noticing what we're doing. So what am I physically doing? Am I closing off my arms? Am I closing off? Am I covering my throat? Am I covering my mouth? What am I doing? Am I crossing my legs? All kinds of things. Am I making myself smaller, or am I blocking connection? And what we're looking for is to go, oh, I'm talking to Super Dave. I'm in the messy middle where he's told me that everything that I did for him wasn't good. So I'm not feeling great right now, right? I'm like, And do I open up and stay in conversation? Or is he scary dude? And I'm like, no, I'm actually going to stay closed off, because that's safer. So I want you to always know you have a choice. I'm not saying always open up, But with body language, I need to recognize that something that you said or that we're exploring may have made me protect myself. And if that energy, then I'm not open to you. I'm not connecting to you. I'm not open. Sure, tell me what I did wrong. If I close myself off, sure. Tell me what you didn't like, Dave.
You can fight
Right?
them off.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, tell me what it is. I'm obviously like everything's I feel like I'm in a sci-fi movie and everything poop, poop, poop off me, right?
Right.
So I'm going to say, hey, can I be truly curious? And I can set boundaries. Can you tell me one thing that we could have done better? One. So when I take really responsibility and I set boundaries for myself, what's one thing? Not five, but I just say one. What's one thing that we could have done that would have shifted that for you? I'm already allowing myself to feel somewhat in control of what's going on.
Right. You've sort of taken back. It's a
Yeah,
little bit like you're recaptured the power a little bit, but now you've set
absolutely.
the
Yep.
framework of the interaction.
Yes. And if I do it with weird tone of voice, right? If I'm, or mean or whatever, right? So if I'm behind the wall and go, so tell me one thing. What's one thing? So we need to know that tone matters. I need to be self-aware enough, right? We don't always know fully how our tone lands. There are a lot of clues around us from the human beings who've been telling us for years. So if we listen to them, it can
I'm
help.
laughing. My wife for 29 years has said tone matters, and I hadn't quite understood that yet.
Yeah. So we don't have to change the word, but if we're like, right. I mean, we know it because we were teenagers and we know teenagers. Sure. What do you need? Right. We totally know that tone matters. Sure. What do you need? Like me, perky self is totally different. So being aware that we have to own that without, totally getting on our case or tone policing and all that, but being aware that my defensive, my behind the wall of attacking or avoiding, I might put extra spin on it. So we will talk about being aware of our body language, being aware of our voice, our word choice, remaining open and connected. I'm supposed to be in relationship with you in that messy middle to have that conversation. So the distinction for us that we play with all these little things that are slightly different, is are you putting up walls or are you putting up boundaries? So the
Hmm.
reason, in words create worlds, right? That's an age-old wisdom from, hundreds of thousands of years, right? How thousands of years, long time, right? Goes through many religions have that words create worlds. So we want to remember that the words I use and how it creates things and all that lands on everyone differently. So first owning that is recognizing, okay. And then recognizing if words create worlds, what have I said? How have I connected? Does that word make sense to you? Like I'm a theater person, right? If I tell you I'm going to block something, that means that I'm going to tell you where to go. It not doesn't mean I'm going to stop something. I'm a theater
You're
person.
right.
Blocking, right? So there we go. Like words mean totally different things. So if we go to the words of walls versus boundaries, so we talk about walls that we put up between ourselves and others as reflexive and protective, like boom, wall comes up. I joke that if you get triggered, a wall comes up. And usually if I said the word trigger, you were triggered to put up a wall because trigger triggers people. Like I got triggered by triggering.
Oh
So
yeah.
the wall comes up. So that's different than a boundary. And you can use whatever words work for you. For me, that wall is reflexive and protecting me. I want to try and have walls down. Boundaries are what I decide I'm going to share. So we were talking about, Christian had a question from last time of running into a client, right, in the coffee shop, right, or the diner, the cup, right? And
Right.
so the walls are down. I'm going to have a conversation with you, right? The boundaries, though, are where I get to keep them up. He doesn't have to overshare. He doesn't have to give away information that he doesn't want to, right? So we want to have intentional. Boundaries are intentional and walls are reflexive. People can feel that sometimes people think I have to share everything. I'm like, no, please do not. I do not need to know everything, right? I don't need all that. I simply need to know what keeps us in relationship. So between avoid and attack, to stay in the messy middle for fruitful friction, you have to be super self-aware. And this key idea of are my walls going up and how do I bring them down? How do I be curious? How do I not risk damage on myself, but risk enough to be in relationship and rock the awkward, own the awkward. It's not going to feel super comfortable. That's a silly thing, right? To think we overrate comfort and we equate comfort with confidence. we can be, I'm super uncomfortable right now, right? I got a light in my face. I'm on a laptop. I got a green dot. I have a Dave face. I'm trying to remember, like, oh, right. So I'm super uncomfortable. I'm confident. I love this information. I have supposedly know how to, I'm a theater trained. I should know how to use a microphone and how to use like a camera, right? All that. So I am confident and I'm uncomfortable. So I'm rocking my awkward. And so many people will say I was in a meeting, or let's say I'm just bringing up Christian because, we're talking about him. I was in there and he could say I lost my confidence. And I would say to him, did you lose your confidence or did you get uncomfortable? Because that is a super uncomfortable situation. He's still a confident guy, right? He's still
Yeah.
confident and
He still knows all the stuff he knows. He still has all the answers that he had
yeah.
before he walked in and someone,
Yep.
asked him that question.
Yes. So I want us to separate those two things out for sure. Competent and confident, hang on to and just rock your awkward. It's super uncomfortable, especially if someone chats with you in a diner or a coffee.
So,
Yeah.
is there a way to recover? Let's say
Yeah.
maybe you had to have a conversation and you're like, okay, I'm going to do all these things, and it didn't go quite like you want. Like it takes practice, right? This is not something you just get on the first time.
I
Is there a
totally,
good way to kind of recover from that or re-engage? Maybe like I don't know if it's reaching back out to them and say, look, that didn't go like I thought it would. Can we try again? Or what is a good
yes.
way to maybe recover when you have it didn't go like you wanted it to go?
So I want two recoveries. I want recovery after, I want recovery right in the middle when you know
Okay.
it's going off course.
Yeah.
Just this
Can I
is
just reset?
totally.
Is that okay to call us pause?
Yes, I do this. Etch a sketch. I want to try that again. I totally pull out an imaginary etch a sketch and I go like that. Or mulligan or whatever works. I go, that I didn't say that how I wanted to. I even practiced it in my head. That didn't come out. I want to try again. It doesn't change the fact that they heard that. What it does is it builds trust because you were self aware. Self awareness builds trust. Lack of self awareness makes us very nervous. And leaders tend to be super aware of other people. I've had leader after leader come to me and go, I'm gonna, this person's doing this. I want to figure out how to fix that. And I go, how about this finger this way? So like, how am I gonna be aware of that? So that same thing, we feel much safer analyzing like, other people. I was thinking about couch quarterbacks, right? I know what they could have done in that game, right? We're aware of that, but I can fix other people. So being aware of self, and then in order to build trust, aware of self and admitting it, that didn't land how I wanted it to. I can feel it in my body. So do over in the moment, mulligan, let me try that again. I apologize. That's not how I intended it. You have to be careful of putting any because on that. I want to do it over because you did something. It has to be only about self. I want to do that over. I want to try it. That didn't land how I wanted. Becauses are dangerous because you love that because they tend to point at another person. They tend to make the fault on someone else. So then what you mentioned, recovery after, is gorgeously human and incredibly trust building, depending if the other person can remain at least a little crack open.
Right.
I want to have another conversation. I want to repair what's going on. I want to try and figure out how to communicate. So then when you come back together, you want to set ground rules for the conversation. Hey, before we dive into this again, can we agree on what are two things you need from me in order to make this conversation work for you or feel safer? We don't say safe because you can't make anything safe. You can only make it safer, right?
Right.
So that ER is important. So you can say, hey, what are two things? And if safer feels too woo woo, I'm a drama teacher, remember that. So if that feels too woo woo, go, what are two things that would make this conversation work better? So what you're doing is you're inviting them to help you create the ground rules since we screwed up the ground rules last time.
All right. I love
That
that.
can help.
And let's see, we're about 20 minutes in. I wanted to
Oh, well, there you
pause for
go.
a second and see
Yeah.
if anybody had specific questions or because Hillary and I think can go all day
We
just
can.
chatting back and forth. But is there anybody
Yeah.
then you want to watch and see if anybody raises their hands? If somebody has a specific, what if
Please.
this
Oh,
happens?
there's a
What should
hand.
I do?
I see a hand.
Okay, go ahead,
Great.
Darren.
Yeah.
Hilary, thank you very much for this. I feel like I'm in a therapy session. Yeah, so this is great. I've been extensively studying what you're preaching over the last 6 months, like at a ridiculous pace. And I believe in what you're saying. I've seen an immediate improvement in my life and
Great.
everything that extends from communication as a result of what you're talking about. Here's my question.
Yeah.
As a business owner and self-employed, I often find myself in situations people are asking for consultation or you're in a consultative selling approach. And frequently I get this comment, you can be direct with me, you can be blunt with me. People will say those things to me. And then tell me about how my website are doing, how am I doing here? Then I tell them, and 98% of the time, they don't like what I say. And I've learned that the difficult way.
Yes. Yep.
How do I pivot from that? Oh, you can be straight with me, what everybody wants to hear is, you're doing all these things wonderful. If you just change this one little thing, your life
Totally.
will be perfect.
Yes.
Usually when they get to me, it's never that one little thing. It's a whole lot of little things. So what is the appropriate way to slide into that conversation? Um,
I love that.
yeah.
Yes. How do you stay in the messy middle with someone, right? And they're probably behind the wall. So you're going to stay in the messy middle, which means you're going to stay available. And you are going to never believe anyone who says, I bring it on, I can do it. You're not going to, not at all. No. So that, because human beings, they say that all the time. And so you want to be aware of what they really want, right? Is information that will help them move things forward.
Right.
It is not a problem to say, hey, I have different levels of feedback and I have different orders of things. So one is I can give you kind of surface things. I can give you next level down. This is what I say. And I do it like spices, like light spice, medium spice, heavy spice. What do you want? What's good? And you can change your spice at any point. You can return the dish. So you can say that, right? And the other thing you can say is, I want to know what would be best to start with. I have seen things that are working and I have things that I want to adjust. Is it helpful for me? And you can just ask them, do you want me to share what I'm seeing the potential, or you want me to share the thing? So ask them so that they're claiming specificity versus bringing it on, because they don't really know what they're asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like asking Mike Tyson. I can take a punch unless it's Mike Tyson. Maybe I can't take that punch, right? Like,
So,
yeah. And also you want to think, you don't even think that way. Like, and you can even, you don't even, you just go, okay, just say yes to them. So you're like, yes. The thing about feedback is you want to think of it as feed forward. What are the things that are working and what can you change to make it better, more efficient, that kind of thing, instead of sharing what's not working. What's not working informs you. It doesn't inform them, because what's not working is what you're an expert in. It's not working, so this is happening. So you want to do the outcome for that. If it is website, right? You want to do the outcome. So here are the things that I'm thinking are working. This is the goal I see you want to get to. And if we do 2 tweaks, these things will work better. If you
that's the version of the compliment sandwich, basically.
yeah, so the compliment sandwich gets a lot of bad rap. And I want to be careful about it. Human beings need to know what's working. Like, we don't want to just know. And people say, I don't need the compliment sandwich. The problem with the compliment sandwich is if it's like so much fluffy bun, like, this is amazing. Your website is freaking brilliant. It's beautiful. Everything's working great. This sucks. And everything is really great. And then that, like, right. So the meat in the middle is so out of alignment. But if it's truth, they're like, I can see what's working. This part is working great. I see where you want to go. This is the part that I think can be improved, which is different than saying it's not working, right? This is what can really shift. If they want to drop in deeper, we can do that. Generally speaking, most of us, if I were to talk about, are you open to some feedback about your window right now as an example? Are you cool with that? Like your window here? So like if I say to you, Darren, like, hey, so with being on Zoom, it helps if you take up like a third of the space, right? And so if we can get you to have your head touch the top of the screen and then you are there and make sure whatever's down here, you'll be able to connect with people better. We want to make sure we're not doing Wilson over the fence kind of thing. I'm telling you what could work better for what's going on, right? Versus saying, dude, I can't see you. Your head's like over in the corner. Right. So that isn't like, that's not as helpful. It's not helpful. That is what's in my head. Dude's in the corner. I want to move him up so he's more in the screen, because there is science that proves that if we're a third of the screen, your hand is showing, which is awesome, by the way. So what I want to make sure is that I give the information that helps you, not the information that feeds my knowledge.
Yeah.
Too often we give that.
One more comment.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So first of all,
I was like, how many people just leaned in?
Yeah. Yeah, my biggest challenge is my whole life I've been able to take dude, get it better, and I'm like, oh, okay. And but I realize that I'm a unicorn in there, and so I've spoken to people that way, and I hurt their feelings. I was trying to help. Anyways,
Yeah. And then if that happens, you just go, cool, that wasn't my intention. And you can't argue intention. So you have to go, God, it wasn't my intention. Let me adjust that so it lands better. All right. So remember, you can't argue intention, especially with family members.
yeah, amen, sister. So you said you're not an expert in body language, or you are?
I'm an expert from the side of helping us be aware of it ourselves, different than I'm not an expert who trains you to read other people.
So am I allowed to say who is an expert on this that you can
Oh,
find on
yeah. Oh my gosh, yes.
the woman in Austin, she's quasi famous. Her name is Vanessa Van Edwards.
Oh yeah, she's great. I love her book. She's great.
Yeah, Vanessa Van Edwards. So you can find her on Instagram and TikTok
Yep.
and stuff. Yeah, and she's very much on Zoom, sit like this, the power pose,
Yeah.
you're open and receiving and all those things. But
Giving the information.
want-
Yeah.
yeah, body language, just even sort of like how to people's eyes open up from here, their mouth, whatever. But Vanessa Van Edwards, so just as a tip.
Yes.
Sweet. Thanks for that, Darren.
Yep.
Do we have? I'll take a couple of more. I'll
Yeah.
take a second here. Does anybody else have an example they might want to use?
Yeah.
You can watch for
Detail,
it.
a snap.
If not, I'll tell a quick story and then I'll set up another thing. So, I present for a living, right? That's what I do. This happened just 2 weeks ago. I was up in Anna doing a presentation for realtors. Super simple, no pressures. I was residential realtors. I stumbled over my name and who I worked for. And like, it's my company and my name. And like, I stumbled around. I was like, hey, okay, start, I was the Etch a Sketch at that moment. And they
Totally.
thought that was the funniest thing because it wasn't like I messed up on the information. I'm like, I promise I know who I am and I know who I work for. So it happens. It just,
Totally
don't
happens.
worry about it
And
when
you
it
know what
does.
was happening was you were your tongue was on automatic pilot and you were pulling other thoughts in. So that's why it disrupted it. So
Oh, it
that's
was, yeah, I
call
was
it
probably three
broadcaster
slides
syndrome.
ahead.
Totally. Broadcaster syndrome is like there's someone talking in their ear and they're
Yeah.
trying to still connect
Oh.
with people. And that's why they go into this mode. Your version of going into the broadcaster mode was simply like a slight crash and burn. That's all.
System reset.
I love it. That's
Hey,
beautiful. So you built trust immediately because you were self-aware enough to go.
Oh, they all thought it was hilarious, and it did. It felt
Beautiful.
like I was not an expert at all. So anyway, one thing I think that sometimes I know I struggle with still is going before city council,
Okay.
even though I know stuff. There's this little like and I do try to do some of the tricks that you're talking about. And I'm kind of self-aware of
Yeah.
I'm feeling that way. But I don't know if you have tips maybe prior to going into that situation where you it might be, a lot of I've learned
Yeah.
there are a lot of us economic developers who are terrified to speak at the council level. We're fine at our board level, but council is like kind of next, and it's really uncomfortable. Are there some tips
Absolutely.
maybe to kind of prepare as you're going into a situation where, you may have this uncomfortable, awkward sort of feeling?
Super awkward. And often they're set up super awkward.
Yeah,
Like
it's like you're on a
in front
diet.
of
They have a
you.
dais, and you're like
Yeah.
you're on trial, so to speak.
And there are people behind you too, right? So
Yeah,
usually,
yeah.
yeah, it's like
Generally, yeah.
it's weird. There's those people in front of you and then it's super uncomfortable. So if we can rock that as super uncomfortable and know that, the thing that connects to the folks up there is if you can keep your walls down, your boundaries up. So the way to be thinking about that is what do I actually need to share with these folks and so if you're objective, so pre going in, you're thinking, what's my objective? What do I want to connect with? What do I want to have happen in this relationship? And why I think that matters is that often we go in thinking only about ourselves and I'm going to monologue. And the minute you are lost in a monologue, you've lost the relationship. So you have to make sure, even at city council, you're prepping, you're going in to have a conversation in what's my objective? What do I want to get out of this? And it has to include them. I find most of the people I coach going into city council, they have a monologue. They're ready just to go gurge, like blah, 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 gurge on people, right?
Right.
That
Okay,
sense.
that's
So,
really
yeah,
helpful. I don't
even
know
if,
if any,
yeah,
I was just gonna say I don't know if anybody else has tried this yet, but it's I've done it and it's sort of kind of cool. But I've used ChatGPT to say, okay, here's what I'm trying to present to this council.
Yeah.
help me with 5 questions they may ask me.
I love it. Perfect.
And it then I feel a little, at least maybe I'm a little more prepared because,
Yeah.
inevitably they'll ask a question that I'm like, I wasn't even thinking, and how did you even get to that question?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a trick that I've also
I
used.
love that. So also, Dave, which would be great is to also, I'm going to ask me that question, and I want you to know I got thrown. So ask me, like, you can just label it as, here's the crazy question you didn't expect was coming your way. Here we go. So say that to me.
So you want me to ask you a crazy
Yeah.
question?
And then I want to give a technique for answering that in the moment, staying present.
Okay. So Hilary, how would you answer if I was being verbally attacked by someone who really hated something that I led the charge on of, the industrial park that I built, and they're really upset because they're the residents that live, a couple blocks away.
So great. I want to make sure I have all the pieces. That's coming from a different angle than I expected, and I'm just processing it right now. So give me one moment. So the idea of saying what's happening, you have to be transparent about what's happening. A lot of people either freeze or they start talking before they're ready to talk. And
I
you
just
want
got to
to,
fill the space.
yeah, and you want to fill the space knowing you're filling the space. Give me a moment. Because if I say give me a moment, my brain is totally cranking in the background. Give me a moment. I wasn't anticipating that question. I have the answer. Give me a moment. And then while that's happening, you grab it and then you're ready to go. So speaking that you need a moment gives you the moment to answer the question.
Okay.
Doesn't
Be
that doesn't
transparent.
that
Like, oh yeah,
doesn't that
that's yeah. So there you go. Yeah.
doesn't
Was there
that
a
create
question?
a
Yeah.
potential that it could be inauthentic, or you didn't know that it was an answer you should have known, or something like that? Like, give me a moment. I wasn't expecting that, and then it's like you
Yeah.
form a political
Yeah.
response rather than.
So you could also say, I
So
wasn't expecting, I want to make sure I want to respond clearly and succinctly. Let me gather those thoughts. You can, anything like that is absolutely true. And for certain people, especially my internal processors, my external processors are like, they just start processing out loud and then they get to the answer, right? And they don't remember what they first said. And the internal processors only heard the first thing they said. But our internal processors need to grab that time. I want to make sure, and we want to be careful saying great question, right? Because that sounds so cliche. So important question, even, that kind of thing, important question. I want to make sure I'm
can
answering
you
clearly. Yeah.
could you ask them to
Yeah.
one thing I've done
Yeah.
is I want to understand their question. You're asking me if, and then you basically repeat their question back, but that gives me that time to like try to
Yeah.
answer it as I'm catching up. Is that
That totally. So here, I want to be sure I'm hearing your question. The thing is, you have to make sure you don't go slick. I obviously am not a fan of smooth and slick, right? So you have to
you
make
want to
sure.
go into car salesman mode?
Yeah, I know. You want that real truth of like, hey, I want to make sure I'm getting that can't be a cover that then you disappear on. You have to be truthful. I want to make sure I have the question right, right? I want to make this is what I heard. Now, with my sales guys, I believe the reason slick came with salespeople is because many salespeople have been told they're too much, too big, too pushy, too whatever the things are. And a lot of them have squished themselves to be more acceptable. And what happens is when they did that, they've lost usually connection to their heart or their instinct. And they kind of then become just kind of this slick thing that's sliding around like this. I have so many salespeople that I've worked with, and all I did was reconnect them to their powerful heart or their powerful gut, and the slickness went away, and they're just a lot. I go, yeah, you're a lot. You're not too much. You're a lot. Bring that heart back. That's who you are. And they stop being that slick kind of thing, and they were
Gotcha.
just full round. That's I'm defending the salespeople. It connects
Good. I
also.
like it.
I'm going to mention arms crossing. So
Okay.
I believe that my internal processors tend to cross their arms first when they start thinking about something. So they go here,
Okay.
think about something, and then they come back. And all I ask them to do is to open back up. Because if they answer with their arms crossed, they're being closed off for themselves. It can land on others as closed off. So the self-awareness piece is you ask me a question that's tough, I might close off for a moment, and then I just open up again to answer it again.
Yeah, so you kind of go behind the wall, get your answer, and then you come back out. And you're not lobbing it back over the wall.
Exactly. That's a beautiful image. Yes. And so many times people are told, stay open, stay open, stay open. But some people can't think when they're fully open. Like they can't even, like their brain is like, it's like
Yeah.
telling people not to use their hands to speak. If you take some people's hands away, sometimes they can't connect their thoughts because it's actually part of our human communication mechanism that our hands help organize our thoughts.
Okay.
So if you take them away, we're like, yeah. Yeah.
All right, guys. All right. Anybody else has the answer? Anybody?
Oh,
I've-
All right, Darren. All right.
yeah.
Okay, if you can answer this question for me, I will send you a check right now. Um,
Oh,
That's
pressure.
kind of like what Christian said.
I've been self-employed for 15 years, and I get it. I get the he's intense feedback
Mhm.
every week, which quite frankly angers me because I get asked a lot of direct questions and I ask direct questions back.
Yeah.
In my world, in marketing, I work with economic developers, tourism people, city chamber, this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I've had one job for 30 years. Oftentimes, not from arrogance, just from experience, when I meet somebody new and we're talking about the profession of marketing, not only do I know more than them, I know a significant amount more than them. And so they'll start, usually the way the conversation starts is they're grilling me to find out what my knowledge level is. Is this guy smart enough to do things? There's always a moment 15 to 20 minutes in where I can see they start to shut down. They ask me a very technical question and I'll start answering in technical answers. And I try to be very self-aware, communicate in layman's term, metaphors, things like this. But there's always a point where I feel like I lose them
Sure.
because they're afraid that I'm knowledgeable enough to expose their secret to the city council, city manager, this, that they actually are not that skilled in the world of marketing. And I struggle with in my head, I'm saying,
I'm gonna jump in
yeah,
because there are different questions going on here. You had me up until you told me because. The only reason is, so I'm going to answer and give you some tools for the because. Once you got to the because, it did the classic thing, which is you put the story on them. You have the facts. You don't actually know the story. You may make that assumption. We may think that. So remember that that could be what's going on. We have
yeah,
to be careful of assuming we know exactly what's going on with someone. And there might be other things happening. And the what I often tell people is the better we are at reading people, the more dangerous we are. Because if we're good at reading people, we assume we're perfect at reading people. And so what happens is we don't leave the margin of error where we don't actually know people. So if you're like 98% of the time you're awesome at reading people and all good, it's the 2% where you might be wrong that we might have error. So you can say to me, I think this might be going on. And that may be going on, but I want to be careful that we don't know that that's what's happening with them for sure in this. But you have great info. I have a bunch of stuff for the beginning part, especially when we have SMEs, subject matter experts, people who are experts, what they're sharing. They come with a lot of intel. One of them is that if the person on the other side were not an adult, if they were a child, you would treat them very differently with respect and with openness that they may not know it. So there's an energy of remembering that if we see that other person as merely someone who is younger, who just hasn't had that experience, even if they're puffing, even if they're puffing and it's not being condescending, it's just going, oh, that's where they are. I do know more. I have had more experience. This is still their job. So I want us to remember how we see people. Now, I'm going to suggest because you hang out in the monotone, right? That monotone, behind that monotone is a lot of energy and ideas and your brain is cranking. The monotone is a little bit, possibly, of a wall between me and what's connecting because monotone doesn't take as much breath, and breath is who we are in connecting. So the more music we use in our voice, the more prosody is the fancy word for it, the more music and color we use in our voice, the more available we are to be in relationship. Monotone shuts that down. It also makes it harder to read. So the less you have that prosody in your voice, I'm having to really listen to the words and decide what story is attached. So similar back to Dave, Super Dave, when we talked about tone of voice matters, it sends message. So monotone is leaving out a lot of information that would help me connect. So monotone is one, and allowing for more variation in voice will help them feel more comfortable with what you're talking about. So that's one, and there are ways to practice that. The other is that you need to flip the bang, which is what I did was I put it out here. This is what here and the key thing. So this is a major tool. There's a lot more to it. We do a whole teaching on it. So flip the bang means that you put the key thing first. So many people build to the key moment. That's not how people hear things and need to learn them. They need to know what your key answer is, and then you need to fill in the information in the order of their curiosity, not in the order that you know is better for them. Okay,
Right.
Oh, that's so good.
so that
Like,
is super important.
so if in a presentation or to
Thank you.
something to counsel, that might look like, here's the answer,
Yep.
but then I'm going to sort of backfill how I got there, not
Yep.
based on some logical order, but based on, I know this person likes the finance number and this person, and what's the best stack to get to how I got to that answer.
Yes. So many
Oh
people
man,
would
that's
like to
hard.
share the information. I've been a drama teacher, and I was coaching any of you. What I would want to do is bring you in and lay you down on the floor and get you breathing first. So not helpful. You're like, why am I laying on the floor? Right? So I have learned to go the other direction. We start with the key thing. So you will start with a finding and then back into it. So
Okay.
Prince the musician, we're going to quote him, not directly, but close to his quote. Give them what they want and a little of what you know they need. All right.
Wow.
So we are always going the other way. And the last piece of that, so the flip, the bang, the monotone, and then the connection, and then that teacher kid, like being that teacher, understanding that a child, we would have a lot more patience with them not knowing. And these are all about staying in the messy middle in order to, there'll be friction, right? There will be. Friction is not conflict. Friction is just traction to get things moving. Is we have to see people and we have to allow ourselves to be seen. Too often, we just see people and we don't allow them to see us. And relationship is built seeing people and allowing them to see us. We have thought that it is disrespectful to see people, or I don't want to invade their space. I don't want, especially guys right now, right? I don't want to invade their space. I don't want to cause a problem. So I'm not going to really see you. I'm going to like sort of see you, but I'm actually going to monologue at you. I'm going to put the wall up because I don't want to cause any problems. One of the most respectful things though is to see other people. The other thing is you have to allow them to see you. So the relationship is see and be seen, which we know from any service that we have done, any service industry we've done. So I'm an actor, so that means I've served food a lot. And so that means that I can say, hey, here's your cup of coffee. Do you want a cup of coffee? And I know that you know if I hand you a cup of coffee without actually seeing you and being open to you seeing me, you think I'm rude and you don't tip me. So we know it from the service industry. And then we dismiss it when we become adults and professionals, and then we just block because I don't want to be rude. And I know I'm touching, these are major concepts I'm touching
Yeah,
on.
no, this is great. You're causing what I say curiosity. I hope you're piquing some
Yeah.
curiosity with some of our guests,
Yeah.
and hopefully that will lead to some more discovery, and they'll dive into it, and then
Yeah.
that's where we'll
Connect with
grow.
me. Connect with me on LinkedIn, connect with wherever. I love talking about this stuff. And I even say on my LinkedIn has a 30-minute, you can sign up for 30 minutes to chat with me. So yeah, a lot of people are like, really? I go, yeah, find a time. Yeah, well, I'll chat. I
Nice.
love this stuff. Yep.
Well, Hilary, thank you so much. This always happens. I think we schedule one time and then we blow it out. And I hope everybody else has enjoyed this as much as I have. We'll record it this time, thank goodness, and we'll get it out. I just want to say thank you. I really do appreciate the work you're doing, and I love that you've turned your drama and love all of that into this profession. It gives me hope that a son who has a degree in acting will someday have
Money.
we'll either make it big or we'll do something with the education we paid for, so
Yeah.
which I think you will. It'll be
You
awesome.
will. It's good
Yeah, it
skills
is
about
gonna be
human
good.
interaction. Yep. Especially as AI becomes more prominent, these skills are more important for the parts where we are actually interacting.
I love it. It's the person, right? All right, well, Hilary, thank you so much, guys. Thanks
Thank
for joining
you.
us. We really appreciate you being part of the Texas Economic Development Connection. We appreciate you taking time this afternoon. Y'all go have a great weekend and 4th of July.
Yes.
We'll see you next month. Thanks, guys.
Great.
Bye.
Take care. Thanks. Bye-bye.